Warfare is directed by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland. It is an A24 film and arrives almost 1 year exactly after Alex Garland's last film, Civil War. Civil War was one of my favourite films of last year. It was a tense, heavy look at the world of photojournalism on the front line. There was plenty of plot, plenty of character development, and a couple great needle drops. But it didn't take a political stance. Warfare doesn't have a plot, doesn't have character development, and doesn't really have any music outside of the opening sequence. But it also doesn't take a direct political stance. In fact, it's an interesting film to talk about because the meaning and the medium offer vastly different experiences here. Its meaning is quite hollow, purposefully absent even, but as a film medium and experience, it's quite an emphatic one. Set in 2006, the film shows in real time across 90 minutes a group of Navy SEALs take control of a family's home in Iraq. Then, things turn dangerous. Ray Mendoza constructs this film based on memory, his memories and the other memories of the soldiers that were there. It is important to mention that this is a dramatized memory, because similar to a documentary, this film feels like we are just meant to observe. This is a retelling of real life events as close to reality as they can get, or I should say, remember. And in terms of its real life qualities, it's still a film, but it feels raw and as close as to what my imagination would conceive warfare to be like. It's a film full of dust and smoke. It's brutal, bloody, filled with anxiety. Its pacing was never an issue for me, but it does ease you in with them setting up the base and a bit of back and forth between the soldiers, and then the first major incident occurs. And it leaves you shook. Bullets come down like rainfall and you start holding your breath. You breathe when they breathe. The tension starts building and then it doesn't stop until the credits. Part of what is so effective here is the sound design. It is monumental. It shakes the auditorium and is so much louder than you'll be prepared for. At one point I struggled to decipher if it was real ringing in my ears or whether it was just the sound design of the film. It's more effective than almost any horror film jump scare. In fact, it feels like a true horror film because it is real. The extended moments of screaming which echoes differently depending on how each soldier has been impacted by an explosion. And with each explosion, you see each soldier change. The droplets of sweat and tears become blurred and intertwined. The cinematography and the editing here keeps you suspended in a state of shock for almost 60 minutes straight. It is easily the best and most intense cinematic experience I've had so far this year. I can't see the sound design being topped. Civil War deserved so much more recognition for its sound design last year, and I do hope Warfare gets its flowers because of that. The cast are all great to the point where once they're covered in dust and the film's tension starts building, the Hollywood faces disappear. Will Poulter is always a joy to watch. Joseph Quinn, Cosmo Jarvis, the rest of the cast, they all deliver exactly what you'd expect from them. But it is the violence that you remember from this film. So now I've finished gushing over all the technical, let's talk about what it means. Because as much as I love this as a cinematic experience, why does it exist? The film was put together from memory. Memory is always going to be weighted in emotional bias, and we are with these men in the action the entire time. So although the movie plays its neutral card early on by showing us how these men take control of an Iraqi family home, forcing them into one room while they wait there for the rest of the film, we are still naturally sympathetic to the soldiers as we spend the entire runtime with them. And the certain scenes that are now ingrained into my memory having seen the film, I'm sure are the same as the real life horrors these men have experienced and not forgotten in 20 years. That is the perspective we are tied to. Which leaves it up to the audience to decide who is in the right or wrong here, and this film's deliberate attempt at a blank canvas allows you to paint your beliefs on top. I don't think it reads as anti-war, I don't think it reads as an enlistment video. I think it's a bit grey, like the best of films, but it feels real, it looks real, but the credits remind you how real it is. It's a film you survive, like the cast, the real soldiers that tell the story of it, but the lingering question of why. The word that is heard being screamed by the Iraqi family, the family which is almost entirely absent from the film despite being in the same house as the explosions and all the terror that is unfolding. Now I understand this is from the perspective of the soldiers' memories, so largely it will not include their experiences. I do think it's an issue worth mentioning to consider what is left behind. I see a lot of discourse unfolding around this film. I think it's a technical marvel and a phenomenal piece of work. one that you won't soon forget. It is easily one of the best war films of recent times, and its raw and visceral experience is a refreshing departure from the Hollywood hero's tale. For me, it's a low 9 out of 10, and definitely worth seeing in the cinema. That's all I have to say about this one. So all that's left to do is to thank you very much for watching.